And I'm starting to think that my grandma's in trouble.
Who's ready to celebrate?
I'm gonna make sure you don't go down.
To our future.
General Hospital.
In Port Charles, secrets never stay buried for long. And when the truth finally rises to the surface, it doesn't just whisper, it explodes. Right now, one of the biggest secrets in town is hanging by a thread, and the people at the center of it are about to discover that silence can only protect you for so long. The tension begins with Alexis Davis, a woman who has spent years balancing her fierce loyalty to family with her razor-sharp sense of justice. Alexis has seen it all: courtroom battles, heartbreaking betrayals, and the constant chaos that seems to follow the citizens of Port Charles wherever they go. But even she knows that the secret she's holding now could destroy more than just a reputation. It could tear lives apart. And the person standing directly in the path of that storm is Willow Tate. Willow has always tried to be the calm in the middle of Port Charles's chaos. Kind, compassionate, and determined to protect the people she loves, she has built a life that looks peaceful from the outside. But lately, that peace has started to crack. The pressure around her has been building, and now it's about to reach a breaking point. Because Alexis knows something that Willow desperately wishes would stay hidden forever. It all circles back to the mysterious shooting that nearly changed everything for Drew Kane. For weeks, whispers have traveled through Port Charles about what really happened that night. Official stories were told, explanations were offered, and people tried to move forward. But the truth, the real truth, has been lurking in the shadows. Alexis has pieced together the puzzle, and now she holds a truth that could send shockwaves through the entire town. When Alexis finally confronts Willow, the atmosphere between them is electric. It's not the kind of conversation either woman expected to have, and yet neither of them can walk away. Willow tries to stay composed at first. She tells herself that Alexis must be mistaken, that this conversation is just another misunderstanding waiting to be cleared up. But Alexis isn't guessing. She's certain. And when Alexis calmly reveals that she knows the truth about who really shot Drew, Willow's heart nearly stops. The color drains from Willow's face in an instant. Her carefully built composure begins to crumble, and suddenly the room feels much smaller than it did moments before. Willow understands exactly what Alexis is saying, and more importantly, what she's threatening. Because if that truth ever becomes public, it won't just be a scandal. It could destroy everything. Alexis isn't shouting. She isn't making dramatic gestures. Instead, her voice is controlled and steady, which somehow makes the moment even more terrifying. She explains that she didn't come looking for a fight, but she won't sit back and watch someone she cares about get hurt. And that's where things take an unexpected turn, because Alexis makes it very clear that this isn't just about Drew's shooting anymore. It's about protecting someone else, someone innocent caught in the middle of all this drama. Scout. The moment Alexis mentions Scout, the stakes suddenly become even higher. Willow realizes that Alexis isn't simply holding a secret, she's ready to use it. Alexis makes a vow that sends chills down Willow's spine. If things continue the way they are, if certain decisions keep being made, Alexis will expose the truth about the shooting. And if that happens, the political dreams surrounding Drew's future could collapse overnight. Port Charles has seen its share of scandals, but this one would be explosive. A shooting, hidden secrets, and a rising political career all tangled together in one messy revelation. Willow tries to reason with Alexis. She insists that exposing the truth would hurt everyone involved. Families would suffer, lives would be turned upside down, and the chaos would spread far beyond the people currently standing in that room. For a moment, it almost looks like Alexis might soften. But Alexis didn't come this far without thinking about the consequences. She knows exactly what she's risking, and she also knows that sometimes the only way to protect someone is to force the truth into the light. The tension between the two women becomes almost unbearable. Willow's mind races as she tries to find a solution. She thinks about Drew, about the fragile peace that currently exists, and about how quickly that peace could shatter. Because if Alexis goes through with her threat, the fallout will be impossible to contain. Imagine the headlines, imagine the courtroom battles, imagine the shockwaves racing through Port Charles as everyone realizes that the story they believed about Drew's shooting was never the full truth. And of course, there's the romantic complication that always seems to follow these characters wherever they go. Drew has been trying to move forward, building a life filled with hope and possibility. His connection with Willow has brought moments of warmth and comfort during some of the darkest times. Their relationship hasn't always been simple. In Port Charles, romance rarely is. There are stolen glances, complicated feelings, and that undeniable spark that refuses to disappear no matter how messy things become. But what happens when love gets tangled up with secrets? What happens when protecting someone you care about means lying to the people closest to you? That's the question Willow is now forced to face.
In a slightly awkward attempt to break the tension, Willow even tries a bit of humor, nervously joking that Port Charles could probably use one quiet week without a scandal. Alexis raises an eyebrow, clearly unconvinced. After all, quiet weeks don't exist in Port Charles, and deep down, both women know it. The conversation grows more intense with every passing moment. Willow pleads for patience, for understanding, for anything that might convince Alexis to keep the secret buried. But Alexis stands firm. She reminds Willow that the truth has a way of surfacing eventually. Secrets can be hidden for a while, but they rarely stay hidden forever. And when they finally come out, the damage is usually worse. As Willow listens, a painful realization begins to settle in. This situation might already be too far gone. Meanwhile, elsewhere in Port Charles, Drew remains unaware of the storm that's quietly forming around him. He's focused on his future, on the possibility of building something meaningful for the people of his community. But if Alexis follows through on her promise, that future could collapse overnight. Political dreams could vanish, relationships could crumble, and the carefully balanced alliances that keep Port Charles from falling into complete chaos could shatter. The question now is simple, but terrifying. Will Alexis really reveal the truth, or will Willow find a way to stop the explosion before it happens? Port Charles has always thrived on drama, romance, and secrets that refuse to stay hidden. And right now, all three are colliding in a way that could change everything. Because once the truth about Drew's shooting finally comes out, nothing in this town will ever be the same again. What do you think will happen next in Port Charles? Will Alexis expose the truth, or will Willow manage to keep the secret buried a little longer? Share your thoughts, theories, and predictions, and stay ready for the next twist, because in this town, the drama is always just getting started. The tension between Alexis Davis and Willow Tate doesn't fade after that confrontation. If anything, it lingers in the air like a thunderstorm waiting to break. Both women leave the conversation knowing that the situation has changed forever. Willow walks away with her thoughts spinning wildly. Her heart is racing, and for the first time in a long while, she feels completely unsure about what comes next. She has spent so much time trying to keep everything together, protecting the people she loves, holding on to the fragile peace around her. But Alexis has just reminded her how easily everything can fall apart. And the worst part? Alexis wasn't bluffing. Meanwhile, Alexis remains standing exactly where the conversation ended, her expression serious but thoughtful. She doesn't enjoy threatening people, especially not someone like Willow. But in her mind, the situation has reached a point where silence could cause even more damage. Alexis has always believed in accountability, and the truth about what happened to Drew Kane is something she simply can't ignore anymore. As the evening settles over Port Charles, Willow finds herself drawn toward the one person she wishes she could talk to about everything, Drew himself. The idea of telling him the truth crosses her mind again and again, but every time she considers it, fear creeps in. What if the truth destroys him? What if everything they've been building together suddenly disappears? When Willow finally sees Drew later that night, the moment feels both comforting and painful. Drew greets her with that warm smile that has a way of making even the worst days feel a little lighter. He can immediately tell something is wrong. Drew gently asks if she's okay, and Willow tries to brush it off with a nervous laugh, joking that life in Port Charles has a way of throwing surprises at people when they least expect it. Drew chuckles at that. He's lived in this town long enough to know that statement is absolutely true. For a brief moment, the tension melts into something softer. They share a quiet laugh, and the warmth between them reminds Willow why she's fought so hard to protect this relationship. There's something easy about being around Drew, something that makes all the chaos of Port Charles feel manageable. But secrets have a way of poisoning even the sweetest moments. Drew notices that Willow's smile doesn't quite reach her eyes. He gently asks again if something is bothering her. Willow hesitates. The words are right there, waiting to be spoken. But before she can say anything, she remembers Alexis's warning echoing in her mind. If the truth comes out, Drew's entire future could collapse. So instead of confessing everything, Willow simply tells Drew she's been feeling overwhelmed lately. Life, family, responsibilities. It's all a lot to handle sometimes. Drew understands. In fact, he admits he's been feeling pressure too. The expectations surrounding his political future have been growing bigger, and every decision he makes seems to carry bigger consequences than before. He tries to keep things light, joking that maybe he should take a vacation somewhere far away where no one knows his name. Willow smiles at that idea. Port Charles would probably track you down in 2 days, she teases. Drew laughs, knowing she's probably right. The playful moment between them almost feels normal, almost. But Willow's mind keeps returning to Alexis and the dangerous promise she made. Elsewhere in Port Charles, Alexis isn't done thinking about the situation either. She's reviewing everything she knows about the shooting, replaying the events again and again. The truth has been sitting quietly in the background for too long, and Alexis knows that every day it stays hidden only makes the eventual fallout worse. Still, there's a small part of her that hopes Willow will make the right choice before things go any further, because Alexis would much rather see this situation resolved quietly than watch it explode across Port Charles. Unfortunately, quiet resolutions are rare in this town. Back with Willow and Drew, their conversation slowly turns more personal. Drew admits that despite all the chaos around them, he feels lucky to have Willow in his life. Her kindness, her strength, her ability to keep believing in people even when things look hopeless, it means more to him than she probably realizes. Willow feels her heart tighten at his words. For a moment, the guilt becomes almost unbearable, because Drew was talking about trust, and she's hiding a secret that could change everything. Trying to lighten the mood, Willow jokingly tells Drew that if he keeps saying sweet things like that, people might start thinking he's secretly a romantic. Drew grins and replies that maybe he is. Port Charles is full of drama, danger, and unexpected twists, but that doesn't mean people can't still believe in love. The comment makes Willow laugh, but there's a bittersweet edge to it, because love is exactly what's making this situation so complicated. As the night continues, Willow begins to realize something important. Keeping the truth hidden might protect Drew for now, but it could also create an even bigger disaster later. Secrets grow heavier over time,
and the one she's carrying might soon become impossible to hold. Meanwhile, Alexis receives a phone call that adds another layer of tension to the situation. The conversation is brief but serious, and when it ends, Alexis's expression becomes even more determined. Things in Port Charles are already starting to move. Rumors are spreading, questions are being asked, and once people start asking questions, the truth rarely stays hidden for long. Alexis quietly admits to herself that the clock may already be ticking. Back at Drew's place, Willow finally prepares to leave for the night. The warmth of their conversation has made the secret feel even heavier, and she knows she can't keep avoiding the decision forever. As she heads for the door, Drew gently stops her. He thanks her for being there for him, for believing in him even when things get complicated. Then he smiles and adds something that makes Willow's heart skip. "No matter what happens," Drew says, "I know we'll figure it out together." Willow nods, trying to hold back the storm of emotions building inside her, because she isn't sure that's true anymore. If Alexis exposes the truth about the shooting, the consequences will be enormous. Drew's political ambitions could collapse, relationships across Port Charles could fracture, and Willow may find herself standing at the center of a scandal that no one saw coming. As she steps out into the cool Port Charles night, Willow realizes that the next move might be hers to make. She can continue hiding the truth and hope the secret stays buried, or she can take control of the situation before someone else does. Either way, the calm that currently surrounds Port Charles is about to disappear. Because once the truth about Drew's shooting finally comes to light, the lives of everyone involved, including Alexis, Willow, and Drew, will change forever. And in Port Charles, the biggest explosions rarely come from gunshots. They come from secrets.
The only one who can give him what he needs right now.
The alternative to making this agreement was unacceptable. I had to put it to bed.
Why won't you let this go?
Just because you can do it. Maybe we should show him that by doing the opposite.
I just need to know how far you would go to protect her.
Now it's time to do it my way.